My name is Cheryl Adams. I am 60 years old and I served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, and it was back in from 1983 to 1987. I was a photojournalist in the Marine Corps. I served 2 years with the 1st Marine Division at Camp Pendleton, and then I was transferred and I served 2 years with the Marine Corps Air Station, New River, North Carolina, and that's a helicopter station that supports Camp Lejeune on the East Coast. A few of my favorite memories. Well, I will tell you this. My dad was in the Navy during World War II, and my brother was in the Navy during the Vietnam War. And when they found out at age 26 that I was going to join the Marine Corps, they both almost fell on the floor. My father was like, "You're not going to make it out of boot camp because you don't know how to shut your mouth and you don't know how to take orders." And I surprised him. I I was honor grad out of boot camp because I kept my mouth shut and I followed orders. Then I went to Defense Information School, and anyway, I went to Camp Pendleton, and a couple of the cool things I remember doing there, because I was a photojournalist, I was out and about all the time, writing articles, taking photos of the Marines. Let's see, one time I was doing a story on recon Marines, and I was in front of the platoon and the commanding officer was introducing me, and of course these recon Marines weren't very impressed with a woman Marine standing there with a camera, you know, that I would shoot a camera instead of a weapon. Anyway, this seagull came along and took a big old dump right on my shoulder, and I thought I was going to fall out. They all were laughing at me, and I was like, oh great, that's a good impression. But I wrote a really good story that ended up being picked up and run in the San Diego Union, and the Recon Marines were really happy that I had provided that kind of coverage for them. I'll take you to the East Coast. I went on a live fire exercise one time, and I was taking photos of logistics Marines. We were in a CH-53E Super Stallion, and they were doing a fan fire with a 50 caliber machine gun. So all the Marines came up, they were firing out the door, and afterwards the crew chief looked at me, and there was a box of ammo, and he's like, you wanna fire? And I'm like, yeah. So you take the camera off, and I'm we're going through the Mojave Desert, and all of a sudden there's a Dipsy dumpster out there, and the crew chief's like, that's it, that's the target. And I let off a round, and it was a tracer round, and I missed, and then I adjusted, and boom, 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 hit the darn thing. And the crew chief, he's like, whoa. And then so I ended up doing that 3 times. It was probably the biggest thrill of my life, was firing that 50 caliber machine gun out of a helicopter. And when I got off, he told me that I had outshot all the male Marines on board, which was really cool. By the way, I fired expert with the M16 A1 rifle, and I had never touched a weapon, a gun in my entire life. I don't know, they just put it in my hands, taught me how to fire it, and I didn't want to go unk and go back out onto the range for 2 more weeks to qualify. And so I think some of those things I'm proud of, especially firing expert with the M16. A lot of times, especially I'm sure things have changed, but in the 80s, you know, the Marines, male Marines, didn't really appreciate women Marines being there. And they would always rib you and give you a hard time. But when they would see that I fired expert, there wasn't none of them ever told me that they wouldn't want me in their foxhole covering their back, because they knew that I could fire that rifle. So I'm kind of rambling. But once a Marine, always Marine, Semper Fi, do or die.